There we go. All right. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. This is the ItCast, Real Talk on Sex, and I am your host, Nika Sherelle. The ItCast is our community outreach podcast that increases diversity in conversations on health and sexuality. Through this work, we are creating a world where all people feel loved, honored, and respected. We have some events coming up this season. Please check out The Chase happening November 4th through 7th. For real, y'all, this is really just about grown ass adults getting dressed in costumes and playing hide and seek in the woods. That's what I've been meaning to say. So learn more at chase.pet and feel free to join us for a wonderful weekend. We also have the Global Sexual Health and Freedom Summit coming up February 4th and 5th, 2023. Early bird tickets are coming out October 15th. October 15th, y'all, is here. Please register at sexhealthsummit.com, and we look forward to seeing you there as well. Please reach out if you want one-on-one coaching with me. You can visit my link tree and book a free connection session. And we want to hear from you. Like, ask us anything, send in your questions. The link is going to be in the comments below on our link tree. And just please go ahead and hit our Q&A form, and you can remain totally anonymous if you like. You can also get access to our bonus content on Patreon, patreon.com/Nika Sherelle. Go in there and go ahead and support our team and the wonderful work and the mission that we're doing over here. Subscribe to this YouTube channel and share with your community. All right, let's dive in. So today's topic is Real Talk on Discovering Bondage. And today in the booth, we have Elise Graves. Elise is a performer, producer, and director, who's been in the BDSM and porn industry for 15 years. As a Pro Domme, she offers professional bondage experiences. You can find her work at bondageliberation.com and bondagetherapy.com. She says, "It's safe to say that I'm obsessed with bondage. I am a 100% switch, which is to say I am a bondage slut." All right, Elise, join us on the show.
Awesome. Hello, nice to be here.
Yes, welcome, welcome. Thank you. All right, so tell us a little bit about yourself and why you chose to do the show.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, I've been in the bondage world in one way or the other, pretty deep dive for the last 15 years. And for me, bondage is just bondage play, bondage experiences has just totally changed my life, not only the direction of it, but how I experience it and the levels of fun that I have in it. And so, yeah, I was very happy to come share a bit about that with you and on your podcast. And yeah, you've been doing this for a long time and doing great work. And I was just happy to be a part of it.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. You mentioned fun.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, let's go ahead and talk about that. Like bondage is play, bondage is fun. And I think that there's a whole other conversation that we get in our head about it. So like, let's talk about what that is.
Yeah. So bondage, although, I mean, to be clear, like I take bondage like very seriously, but within that like seriousness, it's completely fun. Just it has allowed me and many other people to be able to explore ourselves as like a playful creature, which, you know, it's kind of hard to do and kind of hard to find that as an adult. And bondage is, for me, just the most fun ever. There's so much humor in bondage. Like, for example, just, you know, if like someone's gagged and there's like drool like pouring out of their mouth like onto their bodies, or falling on the floor. Like, you know, it could be humiliating, sure. It could be messy, just definitely. But it's just so, I guess, absurd, you know, like in just like a deep, humorous way, that is so satisfying to me. And then, of course, you know, people have different play styles. Some are more just absolutely playful with like, you know, puppy play and yeah, just pure joy, you know, pure joy, pure fun. And but you know, even in like some pretty intense like experiences, like I don't know, like a heavy caning, you know, a heavy corporal punishment session or something. For me, there's just always like, yeah, there's always an element of humor, just either overt or like somewhere just below the surface somehow. And it kind of comes out in mysterious ways. Like if I personally am getting like caned, and which is just kind of like the purest form of like corporal punishment. It's blissful, but at a certain point, just the pain becomes like comedy or something, and like my response to that pain and to all of the juicy chemicals flooding my brain is just like hysterical laughter. And that might be confusing if you're like looking at it from the outside, and it might look kind of creepy, but it's yeah, it's just an expression of, well, it's an expression of joy, but you know, like one of the things that I love about bondage is that it just encompasses like contrasts, all like contrasts of life, like the big ones, like suffering and joy, and of course like pain and pleasure, and top and bottom, and domination and submission, and you know, being like feeling so like strong and powerful, and yeah, just totally being broken and loving it. And but anyway, so yeah, with the joy, it's you know, there's just like elements of, even if you're kind of focusing on one end of the spectrum, like suffering, let's say, you know, like joy is like present there for me always, you know. And yeah, it's so fun. I swear. It's just I have a blast.
Nice. Yes. Like I can hear there's an element of satisfaction in there. Mm-hmm. And like, I won't lie, I'm not interested in receiving, but like you know, like I had some moments of corporal punishment as a child. Like, you know, it's like, oh, you get in trouble. And there was a point at which I was like, whatever, like I'm done crying about this. It's
some endorphins were kicking in by then, probably.
Right. You know, a little adrenaline, like and one of the things that, you know, you're pointing to is mindset. Like I can hear that, like that positioning of how are you relating to this experience that's happening for you?
Yeah. I mean, like there are activities that I both, you know, give and receive in a bondage context that are super fun. And yet if it was in a different context, it would be absolutely terrifying. You know, like if somebody was hitting you with something, for example, in a consensual, like with a mindset of like, I am like safe. I'm here with like a trusted person, waterboarding is like the thing that comes to my mind all the time, because waterboarding is kind of fun. And so in, like people are like, oh, like, how could you handle that? Or like, how could anyone like handle that or whatever? And it's like, well, if I was like, being interrogated and like waterboarded by like, after I was like captured by the enemy, like that would not be fun, like
Right.
that would
Right.
be terrifying. But, the container, the like safe space container that is hopefully present when, you're playing, that I find to be very important to create when I play with people, that just changes everything. And that just allows for people to be able to do things that they thought they would not be able to do, to push themselves, to go places, and to express themselves in ways that they just ordinarily wouldn't. And yeah, that's just so special about it all.
Yes. Yes. The word that you caught that caught me was trust. Like,
it's a big one.
yeah. When you've got trust in your partner and the situation, and like you said, that safe space, that you're safe no matter what happens in that container, it's a beautiful thing to consider. Yeah. And again, like it might look scary or creepy to the outside eye, but the fact, like that trust part, it's so sweet. It's so special.
It is so special. And unfortunately, it's kind of what I find with, my clients and people that I play with, like it's kind of rare to find that, it's rare to have someone that you can trust enough, especially if you're going to see a pro dom. It's like perhaps we've never met before, like ever in life, and you are coming over to a place that you've never been, and after talking for a few minutes, I'm going to ask you to like take off all your clothes and allow yourself to be just restrained in a way that you, not to brag, but like you will not be able to get out of. And so it's pretty, it's like kind of like basic now, because bondage is like popular, and which is great. I love that. And and it's like pretty it's pretty in like our culture now, like in fashion and like TV and stuff like that, which is also great, unless it's like terrible bondage or a bad representation. But anyway, but yeah, but the practice basically, that's like just, yeah, the practice of like opening yourself up to another person, being like, with like intentionally being like, I'm going to make myself vulnerable to you, like, here you go, like this is me, you are like in control of me, you are not just in control, but you are here like to take care of me, to make sure that at the end of this I'm like better off than when I started. And it's beautiful. And it's, of course, trust goes both ways. It is so not only about the sub or bottom, like having trust in their top, but given that like I tie people up way more often than I'm tied up these days, because as a pro dom, you do that a lot. But it is imperative to have trust in the people that I'm tying, especially if I'm going to engage, well, first of all, with people that are like new to me, just meeting new people all the time and diving right into some pretty intense bondage experiences. I have to be able to like kind of quickly like determine the safety, not just like, is this a dangerous person or not? Because that, hopefully was figured out before
Right.
this experience has started. But just like to trust the bottom to know, like, to tell me like what medical conditions they might have, like I want to know that, like, do you have a history of passing out? I want to know that. That's important to know. What like their experience level, like are they, sometimes people like tend to kind of increase their experience, like make it sound like that they've had more experience than they have actually had. And or can I trust you to speak up if something isn't feeling right? That's like super important. Like I need to know, I'm like more interested in, will you say no to me, than if you're saying yes to the stuff that we're doing. So yeah, it's trust goes both ways. It's very important.
Yeah, absolutely. And not being able to set those boundaries is actually quite dangerous.
Yeah, especially, I mean, it's just a huge, it's like it's like a big liability to me, but also from my own personal experience, I've definitely not had as good of boundaries and not like taking care of myself as much as I should have, or intended to, or and it doesn't, it's not good for the person doing it too, because it really reinforces that you're not worthy of like caring for yourself, if you're like not doing what it takes to take care of yourself, and then seeing the ramifications of that, it reinforces that. And so, and on the flip side, it's extremely empowering to say no, and to have that no be respected and honored, and celebrated. Like I try to tell each of my clients, like, if something doesn't feel good, if you don't want this to happen, if you need your body changed up, or you need out of this bondage or whatever, like, it is absolutely okay with me. I have no attachment to you doing something that you like don't want to do. Like, indeed, I don't want that at all. And it's not a slap to my ego, if you like are, call it quits for some reason, or it's like, it is absolutely cool with me.
Like, and it should be. Yeah. You mentioned that bondage saved your life, or like transformed your life. Can you share about that?
Sure. Yeah. Actually, it ties very closely to what I was just talking about, which is, bondage I just provided the opportunity for many very deep, important lessons. The first of which is to really discover and practice and enforce personal boundaries, taking care of myself. And sure, that was a process, but it was a very important process that I don't know if I would have learned nearly as quickly or as deeply, like outside of a bondage context. So, yeah, the practice of saying no and knowing how good that feels when that's respected and how bad that feels if that's not respected, and really solidifying what my boundaries are and how to express them and, enforce them. So that was game changer number one. Game changer number two was the ability and just opportunity to express myself, and in particular express like my own personal suffering, basically. Like growing up, I didn't really have any examples of people who talked about their feelings at all, and thus I became pretty emotionally like repressed in terms of even just like acknowledging that I have feelings or thinking about my feelings, and certainly like expressing feelings. And so without even knowing what was happening in the beginning, I soon started just craving the opportunity to like cry, just cry my eyes out. And, such a powerful, cathartic like experience to just cry like a baby. And, like, of course, the added kind of extra potent aspects of it, which is that generally I was in a room full of people who were like pointing a video camera at me. So it was like on, on video or being like streamed like we are like across the internet in the moment. And, so what that did was like the extra potency that offered was just that the witness, I really feel like it's kind of this dual powerful thing, which is someone like, in this case, me, expressing my suffering. So, okay, like what does it take to get to that? Let's say caning, right? There's like cane stroke. At some point, like, the process, what that like feels like inside for me is like this buildup of like, you kind of at first, I'll speak for myself, like I kind of try to like resist it. I try to like control it. I'm like, oh, okay, like, oh, ow, like, and kind of like clench up and kind of try to like control it by like, I don't know, define it somehow, just like energetically, it's kind of hard to explain, but just like, like resisting, just mental resistance. Yeah, totally. And so it's like, oh, I'm resisting. But like, as things go on, it's like, that gets to this point where it's like, oh, and it's my favorite moment in bondage, which is the I am fucked moment. And it's like, oh, I actually can't do anything about this. I mean, sure, I can stay forward, but it's like, I don't want to stay forward. So like, given that I want this to carry on, there's nothing that I can do to stop this, So it's like, then it basically transitions from resistance to acceptance. And that is not like less of a closed, like resistant kind of mindset to an open, like accepting one. And that opening kind of also like opens the floodgates.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so then like tears, and it's just like the most so satisfying, enjoyable experience. And then so the expression of suffering or whatever emotion, for me it was definitely repressed tears. And plus like having a witness, and having in many of those instances like many witnesses, and many witnesses if I were to consider the people like watching the videos like over the years or whatever. But and having like a witness to your suffering is I think really powerful. So that, because it because I'm like expressing these emotions, and there's like people who are witnessing it, which is like, I guess, experiences that I didn't really get growing up at all. And then the last main thing about bondage that was life-changing is just the intimacy that comes like from all of that stuff. It really provided me the opportunity to feel like really close to someone, even if it's only temporary, which is great and perhaps preferable to me. I don't know. And like just so just really close and tender and caring. That to have that experience, and to be able to see that, like it doesn't have to just happen with like one person in your life or only really, really close people. Like you can find that tenderness and closeness like with a person who just might have walked through my door that day. Sure, there was some not just negotiation, but also like getting to know you, so there's like some sort of familiarity building in order, and trust building in order to like get there, for sure. But it's just, I guess that's just to say that it kind of showed me that you can find closeness with strangers if you want to.
Yeah, intimacy happens in a moment, and we can connect and lean into it, or we can pull back. And I think that that's something, I think it's something that we can all relate to, as well as when you were talking about like that pushing through that moment of like resisting acceptance, that can map onto any type of thing anywhere in the world. And I think that's one of the things when we have these conversations, to break the normative thought that this is any different than what happens day to day.
Yeah, I mean, in like kind of introductory email that I send to people who like want to schedule a session with me, I mentioned that I feel like bondage is like a practice like for basically like life, much like meditation is, or whatever. I mean, even like, I don't know, running a marathon, or whatever people do to kind of show that they can transcend whatever previous limitations that they felt, and so yeah, that's for sure. Like I really do feel like, whatever like the physical kind of like manifestation it is, whether it's like riding a bike for like a million miles, or running like 3 marathons in a row, or whatever crazy shit that people do, like 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 getting like 300 needles pierced in your skin instead of like, which is like I don't know, 50 needles more than the last time that you had them, or like 10 more cane strokes than you were able to like bear, before. Like, it's not, it's like that is like the physical like manifestation of you like pushing through and transcending. But yeah, I feel like it's not just limited to that. Like once you have that experience of, being like, oh, I'm like, I am capable of doing more and being bigger or doing something like new or different, and it like, and I like not just survived, but that felt really good. And I like feel really good about myself about that. Then that for sure spills over, into like, oh, maybe I can like, I don't know. For me, okay. So for me, the thing that bondage really helped is that oh man, I just like had pretty, and I guess I still do some, it's like, I'm like pretty good these days, but like I had pretty bad anxiety, like mostly social anxiety, but yeah, mostly social anxiety. And like, it's like thinking back, I swear, just I cannot just, oh man, it's just, I'm so glad I do not feel like that anymore. But like, I would feel so terrible to talk to like a person at a cash register in a store, I'd be like, anyway, just like so stupid. And like, not to diminish anxiety, but like just and yeah, that's another thing, is that like on top of feeling anxious, I would also be like, that's so stupid, like kind of like beat myself up for it. It's just like, that's just like such a normal thing. Like you're gonna have to like figure that out.
Right, anxiety, insecurity, like right there.
Yeah. And and like I just felt that it was so weird because at the same time, maybe when I just started doing bondage stuff, like I'd be like, oh, I just like got naked and kind of tormented for like 4 hours, like in front of a live streaming audience, all over the world. Like, why? It really, basically what I'm saying is that it really kind of helps. Not only does it build confidence, but it really helps kind of put things in perspective. I'm like, why would I be not that you can totally like logically like analyze your way out of anxiety by any means, but like it does put things in perspective. It's like, why am I feeling so anxious about this pretty mundane activity right now when I was for sure just able to handle like so much more, and yeah, I'm not sure which kind of was more powerful, the like perspective shift, or just the kind of inherent confidence building that I feel like BDSM activities really offer people. But it definitely, I am like so less anxious in my life these days. And I just am eternally thankful, because that is so much energy that I did not want to keep wasting on like worrying about like stupid stuff. So I'm really grateful that a huge shift, let's just say there was a huge shift. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and I heard it coming up as you were sharing, that confidence factor is so critical. And like being able to push past something that you never thought you could push through before. And I think about it, like this is weird, but like even in education, where it's like, I'm going to learn this thing and it's so difficult and it's so hard and you resist and resist. And then all of a sudden, like you discover your brilliance and like the difference that like, it's like, oh crap, I get it now. And the other thing that came up is next time I'm watching bondage porn, like because I'm gonna like those that moment of like the tears and the breakdown. It's like it's actually witnessing a breakthrough for that person.
Oh, yeah.
We hope. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's one of those things where it's like this is actually I'm hearing like that empowering space and that confidence boost, and yeah, like we all get what it means to break through something hard.
Yeah, for sure. And that definitely speaks to your question a bit earlier about like mindset, which is why I wanted, although I kind of regret it now, I kind of regret calling my Pro Dom like practice bondage therapy, because I by no means want to indicate that I'm like a psychotherapist, treating, people like in that way. Like that's not what's going on. However, what I did want to speak to by calling it bondage therapy is the mindset and an intentionality behind having an intentionality behind the bondage play that I wanted to share with people, like to to really highlight the fact that they are taken care of and respected, and that their submission or their suffering is not just, although like it does, someone suffering does indeed bring me pleasure, it's like not just because like I'm causing someone pain. It's because I'm hoping and assuming that, and maybe sometimes it's the case and sometimes it's not. It's hard to, I can't read people's minds, but like it's with the intention anyway. Any pain that I cause or whatever, it's with the intention that it's like I'm creating an opportunity for someone to discover like a new part of themselves, to push past or through something that is, they would ordinarily the pain sensation would ordinarily kind of make them move away from, and instead kind of, so that's why I called it bondage therapy, because I wanted, and I wanted to signal that like I wanted to be more intentional about the play, and I also wanted to have that be a little beacon for other people, because there's many, especially in the Bay Area, but truly all over the world, there's many awesome, wonderful pro doms out there. There are so many, and in the Bay Area there's like really, really many. And so I just wanted to have that just kind of be a little beacon for anyone who was interested in, and that's not to say that other people like don't play that way, for sure. Thankfully I'm like really happy that, I mean, every pro dom that I know is an awesome human being who loves their clients and is doing amazing work in the world. But in terms of just trying to like draw the right like people, because like the world of bondage is like so big. It's literally as big as the life experience itself, So to say that you're like into like BDSM is not being specific enough.
Right.
And so,
right.
Yeah. So if you want to like find like the right people to like meet up, which I feel like I have been just absolutely, utterly blessed with having the right, just not like the right and only people, but just like having like amazingly good fits of people come find me. And so that's wonderful.
Yeah. I'm hearing that like you're looking for people who are interested in that emotional transformation and like really being attuned to themselves, which is important. Yeah.
Yes, attunement is very important. And you don't have to be, good at it, because I certainly was not good at it in the beginning, and that's not to say that I'm good at it now. And I still struggle with being like, oh, like only feeling a feeling like much later. I'm like, only later I'm like, oh, like that's what that feeling was. But just kind of like wanting to be more in tune with oneself, because we could easily just coast on autopilot throughout this life, and yeah. So attunement is not a prerequisite, but if you're interested in more of that, then we might be a good fit.
Yeah, legit. And from what I have learned and discovered about people who are in the realm of sex work, if that's okay that I call it that here, it's about serving. It's about like being of service to the people who come to you, and whatever they come with, and it's being that space of no judgment. But I think that's so beautiful. Like whenever there's something, like we can be so embarrassed about something that comes up, and it's that fear of being judged and ostracized. And in this realm, it's like you can come as you are and and be treated with respect.
Absolutely. Like I really think, not that I'm a religious person at all, but I jokingly say that like sex workers are just doing the Lord's work, because
Yes.
it is just, yeah, I feel like we shouldn't live in a society where like someone does have to pay, a pretty, depending on like a pretty decent amount of money to like go experience a safe, judgment free, accepting, nurturing environment, but here we are. And I'm eternally grateful that that gets to be like how I make a living, because it is utterly of service, whether someone identifies, whether there's like Pro Doms who like identify as like a service top, which not many of them do, but like that's kind of what we are, and like even if like, and that's like coming from me who like I just honestly cannot, and this is like definitely probably a result of bondage. It might have gone a little bit too far, but like I honestly can say that I just like I cannot really allow myself to do something, particularly like in a session or a bondage context, like that I don't want to do when I'm the top, like, so I like hear from people and like what they want, what they're interested in. And I'm like, okay, cool. This is your interest. Then I'm like, okay, well, these are my interests. And I'm like, where do they overlap? And then I like play in like the overlap and maybe a little bit more on my side, but like I just like, and sure, it's like if I'm interested to like be like, oh yeah, I have never tried that before. I mean, I love when people come with like new ideas that I've never done before. But what I'm saying is that I have to want to like do that. So all of that is just to say that even though I'm like I don't want to do anything that I don't want to do kind of person, which I think is actually a great thing, especially if you are a person who had trouble like installing like boundaries before as a younger person. But like even then, even when I like am only doing the things that I want to do, like it is in service to this other person. The whole thing, creating like the container of this like protective like little bubble of time and space, and all of that is in service to this person. And sure, I mean, that's definitely not to say that I don't get like things out of it. It's like immensely gratifying and so fun and super sexy and like all of the things. But it is. And being in service to another person like feels really good. I've definitely been experiencing that pretty hardcore for the last few years, because I have a very old cat, and she's 23 years old now, and she just is like, I am in service to this cat. She has me wrapped around her little paw, and if she meow, like she knows exactly how to meow or like tap me with her paw. Like I know exactly what she wants, and there's like just absolutely, it doesn't matter the time and how many times in the middle of the night like that she wakes me up. It doesn't matter. I am doing whatever this cat wants, and it's so gratifying. I'm like, oh, yeah, I love it.
Nice. The satisfaction of a DS relationship.
Totally. And I am so, for the record, I am like not, I identify as you mentioned in the bio, like a complete switch. But when it comes to like one side or the other, like I definitely would classify myself more as a bottom or a top, as opposed to like a dom or a sub. And but with my cat, I'm like, oh, I get it now. I really found there's like an opening with this cat human relationship where I'm like, I understand like the submission like aspect. That's pretty nice.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so we have a lot of questions coming in, which is very, very exciting. So I'm going to go ahead and transition to that. Okay. So looking at like bondage activities, someone actually, Ray wants to know, what is your favorite piece of heavy rubber? I have no idea what that means.
Okay, so latex, right? Mm-hmm. Like the really, it's like rubber clothing generally. It's really tight and shiny, and people like shine it up with like oil and stuff. So that's rubber, or it's like technically latex, but whatever. Anyway, heavy rubber is like essentially that same material but thicker, and thus it doesn't stretch as much. So it kind of lends itself more towards more like bondage gear, like hoods, for example, are great to be in. Like heavy rubber is just thick rubber, and since it's thick, it might need to be like molded in order to like create a shape, or sometimes it can be like cut and glued for sure. But anyway, to answer the question, I love rubber, so it's actually really hard. But so I visited this place called, this company who's in Germany. It's called Studio Gum. It's a fetishy rubber company. And I had the good fortune of shooting some videos there with a bunch of friends and trying on a lot of different things. And up until that point, I would have definitely said that I love like rubber hoods and stuff like that. But I put on a fully enclosed, just think of like a hazmat suit, but like made out of rubber, and without like in a different face. But like, so this kind of like more form-fitting rubber hood and body, including like gloves and even like, you know, socks. It's like complete enclosure. And there are even so much that it has this like gag, this rubber gag that's built into the whole suit. And it's this mouth-filling rubber gag. So and there's two nose holes so you can breathe, because you can't breathe through rubber, which makes for a very interesting experience if you like breath play, which I do. But so I went into this like heavy rubber total enclosure suit, and my brain melted. It's as like a person such as myself, who I feel, I don't know, it's hard to compare because I don't know other people's experiences, but I feel like I'm kind of tapped into like the energetic realm of things. Okay. And so to put on this like heavy rubber suit and like heavy like rubber, you know, like doesn't unless it's rubber doesn't like conduct like you know, electricity, you know, and it kind of like blocked like energy, I think. So it's like completely covered in a heavy rubber suit meant that I was like sealed off from everyone and just like completely contained in this thing. It was basically like, I don't remember being in my mother's womb, but that's the only thing that I can like compare it to. It's like another planet or in a womb. It's insane. So when I came out of that suit, I'm like, I am taking this suit home. And I did. And I have it. I own it. And it's amazing. And it's actually quite large. It's definitely not the right size for my body, which is great because that means a bunch of other people can fit into it. But it doesn't matter. It's so amazing. It's mind melting, like my brain melted. So that's my favorite piece, I would say, because I had the most powerful first total enclosure experience in that suit.
Nice. Oh, I love it. I like when you said womb, and I was imagining like when I close my eyes and just kind of like that sense goes away. It can be very like satisfying, and like there's a thing to it. It's yummy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So our next question is from Rob, and it says, what developments, so this is about sex tech, what developments in sexual technology excite you and or you wish existed?
Oh, wow. Well, okay. I don't own this particular machine yet, but I'm sure that I will soon. And I forget what it's called, but I recently just learned of one of my clients actually just told me of this machine. It's kind of like are you familiar with like a Venus machine, or like it's like a tube that like a cock goes into, and maybe it's basically like a machine that kind of like is like it like sucks, or
like a
kind of like a jerk off machine,
sleeve.
but like yeah, but it's like it's motorized. And anyway, one of them like deals with suction, and the other one deals with like pushing air into this rubber sack, and thus it like closes in and makes it tight like around the cock. But whatever. Anyway, there's a machine similar to one of those. I don't know if it's suction or whatever, or like pushing air in, but what it does is that there's like an ass plug piece that basically, I guess, when a person with a cock is about to ejaculate, like, and maybe all of us, I don't know, but like the ass kind of clenches before they're going to come. And so this machine monitors that, and then it's like basically and then it will like reduce the sensation so that it like prevents you from coming, and it's an edging machine. It like edges you. It keeps you like, it prevents you from coming, but it like feels really good. So it brings you to the brink and then will like stop and over again. And I am very excited by the idea of that machine. And it will not be a long time before I own that. I'm sure.
Yes.
Because, because sometimes, of course, I could be like, oh yeah, tell me if you're going to come, but not everybody is good about saying that. And, unless I have maybe my own finger up their ass, then I might not tell. I might not be able to tell. So anyway, I'm extremely excited by that device.
Nice. That makes sense though. Like as a pro dom, that makes sense because I wasn't expecting it to be a device you would use on someone else. And yeah, I could get down with that.
Yeah. I mean, truly, I would love the reciprocal version. I love being edged and teased as well. So, but that device, to my knowledge, doesn't exist yet.
If you haven't tried edging out there, I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun. So let's see. All right, so we got time for about one more question, and I want to go ahead and take this one from Daniel, which is, are you planning to write a book?
I have a friend named Kino who asks me, or less of a question and more tells me like that I should write a book. It does not occur to me ever to write a book. However, there are like plenty of things, crazy experiences I would love to share with people. And at the same time, I have a really terrible memory. So I'm actually really thankful that the bulk of anything that I would probably want to write about is on video, thankfully. But of course, there's like all sorts of other experiences that weren't on video. Will I ever write a book? I don't know. I don't feel led to do that. I much prefer, my memory gets stimulated by having conversation, and so I really do enjoy podcasts. So I feel like I would rather do that than write a book. But also I have ADD, so I feel like writing a book would be a pretty monumental undertaking.
Legit. Definitely find your work out there. Very exciting. We do have some other questions, and I love it. Thank you everyone out there making comments and questions in the chat. We have some more exciting ones we're going to go ahead and answer in the after chat. So please check out our Patreon so that you can see that content and get to know a little bit more about Elise and myself. Would you like to share anything else before we wrap up?
No, I'm just super happy to be here. Thanks for having me. And I'm really just eternally grateful that although like things are, kind of going in the wrong direction in many ways, like in many other areas, like, or many other spaces, like things are moving totally in the right direction. And your podcast is a great example of that, of being like open and talking more frankly to a bunch of different people about really interesting stuff. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you. I appreciate you joining this conversation. It's huge. All right, everyone out there, thank you so much for joining us today. The ItCast is our community outreach podcast that increases diversity in conversations on health and sexuality. Through this work, we are creating a world where all people feel loved, honored, and respected. Please do check out our upcoming events this season. We have the Chase coming November 4th through 7th. Again, get dressed in costumes, play hide and seek in the woods, be an adult, have some play, have some fun, and get fed with hot tubs. Okay. Learn more at the chase.pet. Also, we have the Global Sexual Health and Freedom Summit coming February 4th and 5th, 2023. Early bird tickets are coming October 15th. Go ahead and register at sexhealthsummit.com. And remember, October 15th. If you want to get one-on-one coaching with me, you can visit my link tree to book a free connection session and ask us anything. As you saw right here, we love having your questions. We love providing answers, and we want to hear from you. Get access to our bonus content in our Patreon, patreon.com/Nika Sherelle, where you can support the ItCast and get access to a lot more fun work that we do. Subscribe to this YouTube channel and share with your community. Thank you, everyone, and we will see you here next week.